The moment that changed everything. Let me tell you something. Betrayal rarely comes from strangers. Let me tell you something most people learn too late. Betrayal rarely comes from strangers. It comes from people who know your name, people who know your habits, people who say they care. Strangers don't have access to your heart. They don't sit at your table. They don't smile at you while making plans behind your back. That kind of hurt doesn't arrive loudly. It arrives quietly. It arrives dressed as concern. It arrives with soft voices and polite words. And when it happens, it shakes you because you never expected it from them. That's what makes it heavy. That's what makes it personal. A birthday is supposed to mean honor, not erasure. A birthday is supposed to mean something. It's not just another day on the calendar. It's a reminder that you lived, that you gave, that you showed. A birthday is meant to carry respect. Gratitude. A pause to say, you mattered this year. You don't expect silence on a birthday. You don't expect distance, and you certainly don't expect plans being made without you. That day is supposed to lift you up, not quietly push you aside on my birthday. Of all days, on my birthday. Of all days. Not after. Not before. On that day. The day that should have felt safe. The day that should have felt warm. That's when it happened, and it made no sense at first. You replay it in your head. Again and again, trying to understand how kindness and harm could exist in the same moment. When celebration hides a decision already made, the smiles were there, the words sounded right, everything looked normal. But underneath it all, a decision had already been made, a choice, a plan. I wasn't part of it. I wasn't asked. I wasn't considered. That's when you realize something painful. Sometimes celebration is just a cover. Sometimes warmth is used to soften control. And in that moment, you feel it. Your voice being removed. Your life being discussed like an object. How do you celebrate someone while planning to remove them? How do you do that? How do you praise someone while planning to erase their say? How do you say we care while deciding their future without them? That question sits heavy because it's not just about one day. It's about respect. It forces you to see the difference between love and comfort, between care and convenience. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Love or convenience, respect or control. This is where the truth shows itself. Was it love or was it convenience? Was it respect or was it control? Because love doesn't silence people. Respect doesn't remove choice. Control does. And when control enters the room, dignity is the first thing pushed out. They thought I would break. They thought I would break. They thought I would lower my head. They thought I would agree, just to keep the peace. They expected tears. They expected fear. They expected silence. They didn't know something had already changed. What they didn't expect was my reply. What they didn't expect was my reply. Not loud. Not angry. Steady. Clear. That reply didn't come from hurt. It came from something deeper. And that's where everything began to shift. When love turns conditional. Love didn't leave all at once. It changed its rules. Love didn't disappear overnight. It didn't slam the door. It didn't announce its exit. It slowly changed its rules. At first, nothing feels wrong. People still speak kindly. They still say the right things. But over time, you feel it. Care now comes with conditions. Support now has limits. You realize love didn't stop. It started asking for obedience. And that shift is easy to miss. Until it costs you your peace. As long as you're useful. As long as you're quiet. As long as you're useful. As long as you're quiet. Those words may never be spoken, but they are felt. You notice approval fades when you disagree. Help slows when you speak up. Warmth cools when you need something. Obedience becomes the price. Silence becomes the rule. This isn't care. This is control dressed as concern. And once you see it, you understand why shrinking feels expected. When vulnerability stops being protected there, comes a time when strength looks different, when you need more rest, more patience, more understanding. But instead of protection, you meet irritation. Instead of care, you meet delay. Vulnerability becomes an inconvenience. Dependence becomes a problem. And that hurts deeply because the people who once leaned on you now rush past you. That's not weakness on your part. That's a failure on theirs. They once leaned on you. Now they want you out of the way. There was a time when they needed you. Your time, your effort, your sacrifice. You carried weight without complaint. You showed up when it was hard. Now the roles have shifted. And suddenly, your presence feels heavy to them. That contrast cuts deep. Not because you want repayment, but because respect should not disappear with age. When did experience become a burden? When did wisdom become noise? When did experience become something to ignore? At what point did years of learning turn into something people avoid listening to? This isn't about growing older. It's about being pushed aside. And when society accepts that quietly, it teaches people that discarding others is normal. Disrespect repeated becomes permission. The first time hurts. The second time confuses. The third time becomes a habit. Disrespect repeated turns into permission. Silence doesn't keep peace. It teaches people what they can get away with. And every time you stay quiet, the line moves further away from dignity. I wasn't a person to them. I was a problem to manage. That's when it becomes clear. You're no longer seen as a person. You're treated like a task, a problem, something to handle quickly. And once that happens, shrinking is no longer a suggestion. It's an expectation. The silent expectation to shrink now. One said it out loud, but everyone expected it. No one sat you down and said it. No one explained it clearly, but you felt it. The pauses. The looks. The sighs. The message was quiet, but firm. Stay in your lane. Don't make things harder. And that silence carries pressure. Be agreeable. Don't complain. Don't take up space. Be agreeable. Don't complain. Don't take up space. Those rules don't come with warning signs. They arrive through tone, through body language. You learn them by watching reactions. By noticing when the room gets cold. And slowly you begin editing yourself. Stay quiet. Stay small. Stay out of the way. Stay quiet. Stay small. Stay out of the way. You repeat it to yourself without realizing it. You stop sharing. You stop asking. Not because you don't matter, but because you were trained to believe inconvenience is something to avoid. Guilt is the softest form of control. Control doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, I'm just worried. It's for your own good. Concern becomes a leash. Guilt becomes pressure. And before you know it, you're obeying without being ordered. When silence becomes a decision made for you, silence feels safe at first, but it doesn't stay neutral. When you don't speak, choices are made without you. Plans move forward without your voice. And one day, you look up and realize your life has been rearranged. If you don't speak, someone else will choose your life. If you don't speak, someone else will choose for you. Not because they hate you, but because silence invites control. Your voice isn't a problem. It's protection. And the moment you understand that, shrinking stops feeling safe. A chair doesn't lose value because it's been used. A chair doesn't lose value because it's been used. It gains strength. It holds weight better. So do you. Point. When respect was officially removed, that conversation wasn't about a birthday. That conversation wasn't about a birthday. It was about permission. Permission they assumed they had. Permission they never earned. The date didn't matter. The meaning did. The first feeling wasn't anger, it was disbelief. The first feeling wasn't anger. It was disbelief. You replay the words. You search for clarity, not because you're weak, but because respect was removed without warning. How do you reason with a decision already final? How do you speak when the outcome is set? How do you argue with a closed door? That helplessness is heavy, because the choice was made without you. Celebration on the surface. Control underneath, everything sounded polite dot, everything looked calm, but underneath it was. Control dot clean dot quiet dot. That contrast hurts more than open conflict. They had planned. They had discussed. They had decided. They had planned. They had discussed dot they had decided. Without you. Each word lands. Heavier than the last because agency wasn't lost suddenly, it was taken. That's when something in me stood up. That's when something stood up inside me. Not anger dot not fear dot clarity dot. And once clarity arrives, silence is no longer an option dot the inner shift. Choosing dignity over approval strength didn't arrive. Loud it arrived, steady strength didn't come with raised voices or sharp words. It didn't storm in dot, it settled in dot, it showed up quietly. Like a spine straightening after years of bending. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. I didn't need to win an argument. Real strength often looks calm dot. It looks like knowing where you stand. It looks like not reacting just to be seen. That steadiness is powerful because it can't be pushed around easily dot. It doesn't shake when the room gets tense dot, it stays. The day I stopped needing to be liked, there was a day I realized something hard. Wanting to be liked was costing me my peace. I softened my words. I delayed my truth. I stayed quiet so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. But approval is a moving target. You never reach it for long. The moment I stopped chasing it, I felt lighter. Not cold dot, not distant dot, free dot, because being liked is optional. Respecting yourself is not. Let me tell you something, peace comes after courage. Let me tell you something important dot, peace does not come before courage dot, it comes after. Feel fear first. Your hands shake dot, your voice hesitates dot, but when you stand anyway, something shifts dot, the noise inside you settles. Peace isn't comfort dot, it's alignment dot, and once you feel that, you stop trading yourself just to avoid tension. I was tired of earning what should have been given. I got tired of earning basic respect, tired of proving my worth, tired of justifying my place. Dignity should not be a reward dot, it should be a given. Every time I stayed quiet to keep others calm, I paid for it inside. That price was too high dot, so I chose differently dot, not loudly dot, firmly dot. I stopped asking for a seat and built my own table. I stopped waiting to be invited, stopped hoping for permission. I built my own space, one where my voice mattered. When you do that, something changes. You don't chase rooms anymore dot, you decide where you belong, and that decision changes how people treat you. If you trade dignity for comfort, you lose both comfort bought with silence never last dot, it rots slowly. You lose your voice first dot, then your peace, then your self-dignity may feel hard at first, but it holds you upright dot, and once you stand that way, comfort finds you again, this time without shame. I remembered who I was before fear, before shrinking. That memory didn't shout dot, it stood. The reply, calm, clear, and unshakable. I didn't raise my voice. I lowered the noise when I spoke. I didn't raise my voice. I lowered the noise inside me dot, no rush dot, no. Shaking dot, calm isn't weakness dot, it's control of yourself dot, and when you speak from that place, people listen differently dot. Calm is what happens when you're certain. Calm comes when you're sure of your ground dot, not angry, not defensive dot, certain dot. You don't need to push when you're sure. You don't need to prove when you know. That calm unsettles people who expected fear dot, no shouting, no begging, no explaining dot, no shouting dot, no begging dot, no explaining. Those things give away power. I said what needed to be said, then I stopped. Silence carried the rest. I am not a problem to be managed, I said it clearly. I am not a problem. I'm a person with a voice dot, with choice. That line drew a boundary no one expected. I'm still the owner of my life, I reminded them of something simple dot, my life is still mine, decisions About me include me dot, always dot, that truth doesn't need volume dot, it needs. Firmness dot boundaries are doors dot. Walls boundaries aren't rejection, they're clarity dot, they show where respect begins dot and where control. Ends dot doors can open dot walls only block, they expected. Weakness they met certainty they. Expected tears dot they met calm, they expected. Fear they met steadiness, and that moment changed the room, the aftermath. When power shifts in the room, truth leaves a silence behind it after truth is spoken. Silence follows dot, not empty dot, heavy dot, that silence tells you. Everything dot control struggles when it's no longer. Obeyed control falters when obedience stops dot, not with noise. Confusion. People don't always react kindly when they lose control, but their discomfort isn't your burden. Why? Does confidence make manipulators uncomfortable? Because it removes leverage, because it ends guessing. Confidence doesn't attack dot, it stands, and that's enough. Respect rarely comes first resistance. Does respect often follows resistance? Not cruelty dot, clarity dot, when you draw a line. People learn how to treat you. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I stood. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I stood dot, and that was enough. That's when the power changed hands. That's when the power shifted dot, quietly dot, finally dot, lessons for anyone who feels disposable. Hear me clearly. This is for you. Hear me clearly. This is for you. Not just for the person whose story you've been listening to, but for anyone who has ever felt quietly erased. For anyone who stayed silent because speaking up seemed harder than fading into the background. This is for those who have been overlooked, undervalued, or dismissed not because they were unworthy, but because others forgot how to see them. You are not imagining the pain. You are not exaggerating the weight. What you are feeling has a name, and it deserves recognition. Your experience matters. You matter. And it's time to reclaim that truth dot, to parents, elders. And anyone overlooked. This is for parents who gave everything, who stayed strong when it was hard, only to be told later they're too much or in the way. For elders whose wisdom is praised in words but ignored in action. For anyone who carried families, communities, or workplaces on their back, then felt invisible when it was convenient for others. Being overlooked is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of the world forgetting how to recognize depth that doesn't demand attention. If you have been minimized, ignored, or treated like a burden, know this: your presence is meaningful, your voice is important, and your time is not spent in vain. Your value does not expire with time. Your value does not expire with time dot, it doesn't diminish because your pace slows dot, it doesn't disappear because your needs increase dot. Experience is not a liability, it's a foundation. Years of living, learning, and giving cannot be erased by convenience or discomfort. Culture may tell you that usefulness equals worth, but that's false. Your dignity isn't conditional. Your voice isn't optional. Your presence is never outdated. The problem is not age or change. It's a system that misunderstands the depth that comes with time. And the truth is simple. You are still essential. You are still capable. You are still deserving of respect, attention, and care. Silence teaches people how to treat you. Silence teaches people how to treat you, not because they mean harm, but because behavior that goes unchallenged becomes habit. When you swallow your discomfort, people learn that your peace is more important than your dignity. When you hold back your needs, others assume agreement. Over time, silence becomes permission. Speaking up doesn't make you difficult. It makes you visible. It shows that you matter. It signals that your life is not negotiable. Silence protects peace for a moment. Voice protects respect for a lifetime. The lesson is clear. If you want to be treated with dignity, you must first claim it with your words, with your actions. And with your presence, you don't retire from being human. You don't retire from being human. There is no age, stage, or circumstance where your right to respect disappears. Needing help does not erase autonomy. Depending on others does not erase personhood. Humanity isn't earned by productivity, it's inherent. And anyone who treats you as less because you've changed misunderstands what it means to be human. Your life, your needs, and your voice do not come with an expiration date. You are forever worthy of care, consideration, and recognition. If you don't claim your worth, someone else will discount it. If you don't claim your worth, someone else will discount it. Not always maliciously, but the result is the same. Deference without boundaries invites control. Acceptance without assertion invites dismissal. When you allow your value to be questioned, others assume it is optional. Claiming your worth is not arrogance, it is clarity. It is saying, I exist. I matter. I am not up for negotiation. Once you take that stance, the rules shift. Your life is no longer something others rearrange casually. Your presence commands respect simply because you refuse to treat it as invisible. This is where the choice becomes your shrink to survive or stand to live. Every next step begins with deciding that your life, your voice, and your worth cannot be ignored. Reclaiming authority over your life, authority is self-respect. Not control over others' authority is self-respect, not dominance. It isn't about managing others or forcing compliance. True authority begins within when you decide that your life is not negotiable. People who try to control others often lack self-control. People who have authority know where they stand and what they will accept. This kind of authority doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't constantly defend itself. It simply exists. And the certainty that comes from self-respect changes how people respond to you. Once you respect yourself, others are guided to adjust naturally. You don't need permission to live your life. You don't need permission to live your life, not from family, not from society, not from fear. Too often, people internalize the belief that their choices require approval. Approved to rest, approved to speak, approved to decide. That belief keeps you small long after the original pressure has gone. Adulthood does not come with judges. Life is not a group project. You are allowed to act, to rest, to claim your space without asking anyone. Your life is yours to direct. No signature required. Say no without apology. Say no without apology. No explanations, no emotional padding, no guilt. No is complete. When you apologize for your boundaries, you signal doubt. When you state them calmly, firmly, and clearly, you communicate authority. A strong no does not require anger. It requires clarity. It protects your peace and trains others to respect it. Repeatedly saying no without shame rewires expectations. It tells others your decisions are final. Your needs matter. Your life is yours to govern. Stop explaining what you've already decided. Stop explaining what you've already decided. Over-explaining drains authority and energy. People who seek control will use your justifications as leverage. Your choice is not negotiable. Communicate once. Stop talking. Let your consistency speak louder than any words. Confidence is quiet. Clarity is quiet. Over-explaining signals doubt where none exists. Protect your energy. Stand firm. Respect follows. Self-assured boundaries more than repeated justification. Your life, your voice, your decision, your life. Your voice. Your decision. Not collectively owned. Not conditionally granted. Not borrowed. This repetition grounds you. Every time you remind yourself of this truth, your presence strengthens. Boundaries become unshakable. Choices become deliberate. Life begins to feel steady again. Others may resist, but your clarity remains. Your voice anchors your space in the world, firmly and without apology. You don't ask permission to breathe you. Don't ask permission to breathe. Living with dignity is the same. You do not justify your existence. You do not wait for approval. Breathing is natural. Being treated with respect is not optional. Claim your space simply because it exists. Closing. A final message that lands. Heart, let's go back to that birthday. Let's go back to that birthday. The day they thought they could erase your presence. The day smiles hid decisions made behind your back. That moment isn't just a memory, it's a lesson. It shows what happens when others assume they can control your life without your consent. But it also shows what is possible when you refuse to shrink, when you stand calm, grounded, and unshakable. That moment becomes a pivot, a turning point from silence to authority. Dignity was never up for negotiation. Dignity was never up for negotiation. No apology, no compromise, no hidden fee. Your right to be treated as a person is absolute. Nothing anyone says or does can remove that unless you allow it. The core truth is simple. Respect is a baseline, not a favor. When you act with clarity and firmness, the world adjusts. When you stop shrinking, others stop trying to make you smaller. That is power grounded in presence, in choice, and in self-respect. What will you allow? What will you allow? Will you accept being minimized? Will you accept being ignored or overlooked? Or will you stand? Your life is not up for debate. Every decision you make signals what you will accept and what you will not. The question isn't to them, it's to you. What will you allow in your life? Starting today, you are not done. You are not small. You are not done. Your story is not over. You are not small. Your presence carries weight. Your voice matters. Your experience is valuable. Do not let the quiet room convince you otherwise. Stand upright. Speak your truth. Move through the world fully. The choice to live fully is still yours. You are not disposable. You are not disposable. No calendar. No expectation. No convenience can erase your value, your life, your voice, your dignity. They cannot be replaced. You exist. You matter. You remain essential. A candle doesn't fade, it lights the way. A candle doesn't fade because it burns longer. It lights the way. Even when others try to dim you, your light continues to shine, steady and unyielding.